Transitions are a really important part of your informational writing. They really help your text to flow from idea to idea. Otherwise, your writing piece can feel listy or boring, and it really just doesn't have the flow to it that a natural informational writing piece should have. So I want to talk to you about transitions today. Looking at your rubric, you'll notice that there's quite a bit to transitions, but it really does a great job of explaining the purpose and the significance of having transitions. It says, I use transitions to link information with concepts. So you get that idea that transitions bridge the gap between two separate ideas. They help the reader to follow from part to part and make it clear when information is an example of a bigger idea, is linked to another part, or introduces something new. These transitions might include specifically, for instance, related to, just as, on the other hand, or turning to. And these are all examples of types of transition phrases that you might actually use in your writing. So you can see they've given you a couple of examples here, but I'm going to give you quite a bit more towards the end of this presentation. So as I see it, transitions can be broken down into two types. First, transition sentences. These are complete sentences that usually occur at the beginning and or sometimes at the ends of main body paragraphs. They kind of frame the paragraph as if they are like the outsides of each part of your paragraph. And the reason that you have them is to hint at the main idea of your paragraph. It gives the reader, hey, this is a heads up as to what this paragraph is going to be about, with the details will be in the inside of the body paragraph. But that transition sentence really just sets the stage so that your reader knows what the big idea is going to be. The other type is what I'm calling a transition phrase, and that's not a complete sentence, but just a short little word or two that links ideas within a paragraph. So these are the examples that they gave you in the rubric. And I'm going to give you some more in just a second, but the purpose of transition phrases is to help the reader see the connections and differences between ideas. So they help bridge that gap, as I said before. Here are some examples of transition sentences. This is a newspaper article from the Chicago Tribune about the McDonald's dollar menu. And what this one does pretty well is using those framing sentences, those transition sentences to start a paragraph. Now, they don't have one at the ends of each paragraph, but that would be possible as well. A lot of great authors put a transition sentence not only at the beginning, but also at the end of their paragraphs. But for this case, the Chicago Tribune just uses a transition sentence at the beginning of the paragraph. So you can see that I've underlined those two transition sentences for you. McDonald's is updating its dollar menu. Notice that's telling you what this paragraph is about to explain. It's going to tell you about how they're updating the dollar menu. And the same with the second one. But soon the list will change. So they're going to talk to you about the changes within the dollar menu. So you can see these transition sentences do a good job of telling you what this paragraph is all about. They explain the main idea for the reader. Now, I told you I was going to give you some examples of transition phrases, not the complete sentences, but the words that you can use to link ideas and contrast and switch your thinking. So you can see I put them into two categories here. The first category is what I call linking ideas, and that's where you want to take two things that are similar, oftentimes in a list, first, second, next, lastly. And you can see there are all sorts of different examples that you can use here. And these are just a few that popped into my brain. If you go onto Google right now, you could probably find a million different linking transition phrases. But these are some of the more common ones. You may have used them before without even realizing them, actually. The second type is the switching of thinking. And those phrases totally change what you're explaining to your reader. So you're not going to continue along the same line of thinking, but you're going to present an entirely different idea. Oftentimes it's when you're giving a comparison and showing the reader the opposite of what you were just telling them. So some examples of that is the most common ones probably however, instead. You might see those on the other hand. You'll see a lot of those, but you could use any of these to switch your thinking for your reader. What all of these transition phrases do is they clue the reader in as to what you're about to give them. It gives them a little hint that, hey, I'm either giving you more ideas to add on to what I just said, or to switch my thinking entirely and give you something like an opposite so that you can compare the two. Transition phrases are something that you need to use throughout your writing, not just at the beginning or end of your paragraphs. Here's an example of an article about mummification in ancient Egypt, and this author does a nice job of using a variety of transition phrases. All of them seem to link ideas. They don't seem to switch the thinking. So you can see I've highlighted those in blue and underlined them for you. Some of them aren't even on the list, so you can see there's such a wide variety of phrases that you could be using.